Yep, as you can see, the server reset, and I am second on the global farthest throw leaderboard. That is, yeah, definitely the best strategy to actually do so. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Pet Sim 99 video. Today, the new basketball update part 2 was released, and they added quite a bit of stuff. So I'm going to go over everything they added, as well as explain to you how exactly the leagues work, because no, it is not a guaranteed Titanic. And then I'll be going over all the best tips and tricks that I have for the update, as well as the best way to get the farthest throws and hopefully secure yourself a top 10% league position. Now, before I get into all that, if you enjoy this video or find it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget that once we reach 45,000 subscribers, I will be doing a massive 50 plus rainbow huge pet giveaway on Pet Sim 99. However, I do give away at least 10 rainbow huge pets every single video, and if you want a chance to win one of those huge pets, all of the giveaway information will be in the description. Okay, so before I get into all the basketball stuff, I quickly want to talk about what they changed in the fantasy world. I'm not really going to be going into it because I don't really play the fantasy world. It's kind of boring in my opinion, but all they really did was add 5 new areas with a vending machine, a few more relics, and a few more player upgrades, as well as in the last area, the time trials have been buffed by 5 times. So maybe farming that might be a good idea. I'll definitely be checking that out probably, as well as the huge and Titanic chance was also buffed. So that is pretty sick. But honestly, that's really all they added to the fantasy world. I do think the fantasy world still does have some potential, but when they only add a couple worlds with like barely any new mechanics, it is a bit boring in my opinion. But let's go ahead and talk about the main star of this update, which is obviously the new basketball leagues update. Okay, so in this new update, they added in quite a lot of new stuff, and they also changed the way some things work inside the basketball world. Now, if you don't understand the basics of how the basketball world works, go check out my last video. I basically explained literally everything you need to know about the update and how the fundamentals of this basketball world work. So let's go ahead and check out what they actually added. All right, so in this update, you'll notice that past area 5, there are actually a few new areas. Now, these areas are actually really easy to open. The gate price is only a couple thousand, and as you can see, if you farm this event, you can easily get billions. And there's also no challenge on the gates, so you can pretty much just speed through this update if you played the last update. But if you didn't play the last update, all you want to do is basically use the auto throw or hold the throw to shoot into that net, get coins, buy the pets in each area, which will help you get farther throws, which give you more coins until you make it to the last area over there. But I want to talk about the second last area first. As you'll see in this area, there is a new basketball season calendar, which is basically just a daily challenge that you can complete for some free limited rewards. Now, based on the dev blog, the rewards don't seem too great, but it does include a basketball hoverboard, basketball booth, some boosts, and more. But as you can see, once you open the menu on the left hand side here, you'll see a challenge. Mine was to do 7 critical throws, so obviously I already did it. And then you can claim the free reward. This time I got some boosts, which are not too bad. And then every single day you'll get a new challenge that you can complete pretty fast. Honestly, if you want to complete these really fast and just get super fast throws, all you really need to do is unequip all your pets so you have 0 strength, go to the last area here into the infinity area, throw it, and then you'll get your critical throws, your trick shot throws, whatever you need really fast, instead of going for super long throws, which take a while each time. But with that being said, moving on to the last area here, we have a few new things. So obviously there are the upgrades and upgrade orbs again. Unfortunately, they did reset all the orbs that we had. I saved up like 30,000 because I thought we'd be able to keep it, but apparently not. So because of that, I will be going over how you can AFK the orbs once again, like I showed you in the last video, but with a slightly better method so that you can max out your upgrades once again, because they did also reset the upgrades themselves. However, as you can see, there is one new upgrade here, which is the better dunk meter, which ties into a new mechanic that we have, which is a dunk. As you can see on the right hand side here, there is a dunk meter. All this upgrade does is require less throws to fill up the meter, but basically once this meter is full, your throw will be a dunk, which will obviously increase its score. So if you get a trick shot, critical shot, dunk shot at the same time, that's going to be the best possible throw, which is pretty neat. The other upgrades are literally all the same. I'll be talking about which upgrade you should upgrade first, because unlike last update, some of these upgrades are actually a lot less useful. However, beside that, there is a new league function. I want to talk about this quickly because it can be a little confusing. Basically, these are clans, but for 4 people. You get to create a team for free, add players, and invite friends to the clan. And basically, it's not your farthest throw. It's like an average of your throws. So you don't want to really go for the farthest possible throw. You want to just make sure you have a team that's going to give you consistent, pretty decent far throws, because getting a really high score and then just stopping there is not going to be worth it because you're not going to be able to get the rewards. You want to make sure you're able to AFK throw while still maintaining a pretty high score. So as you can see right now, I have a 6 million strength, so my score is around 5 to 6 million. However, if I lower my strength down to like 2 million and then I make a throw, keep an eye on my league strength here. We'll go ahead and make a throw. as you can see, it just went down because I made a lower than normal throw. So it is like kind of an average. It's not just your high score, which can be a little interesting. So you really want to make sure you're in a team with people who have a pretty decent team on every account, who hopefully maintain a pretty good score while you're AFK throwing and keep having a good chance at getting some decent rewards. And based on what your team score is, you will have the chance at getting rewards while you're throwing. So these aren't guaranteed rewards, but as you can see on the right hand side here, just like the last update, you get points as you're throwing, and it basically just gives you a chance at getting all 10 points for the gift, for the huge pets, or the Titanic pet as you're throwing. Now obviously getting the huge and Titanics are a lot harder than the gifts, but this league will basically allow you to have certain rewards here when you're AFK throwing. So if you're in the bottom 30%, you will only get a regular basketball gift and one huge pet and a Titanic. But if your team has a score that puts them in the top 10%, you'll instead have a chance at getting a cosmic basketball gift, as well as 2 huge pets and this Titanic holographic axolotl ball. So depending on where your team places, that decides what rewards you can actually get while you are AFK throwing, which I think is a pretty neat idea. Now, while I was actually editing this video, I was AFK throwing and I already managed to get myself a really good huge pet from this event. So I think honestly, just from the amount of huge pets that exist and how I was already able to get one, I do think farming this event for the huge pets from the league are going to be a really good way to make profit, and you'll probably see a method coming up pretty soon. Here is the clip of me actually getting it. Oh wow, that's actually pretty insane. Once again, we have a new leaderboard. This time, once again, top 2,000 players are getting a Titanic, but there is no variance of this Titanic, so you don't have to worry about getting number 1. You don't even have to worry about getting top 100. All you need to do is get top 2,000, which is actually pretty good and definitely won't be incredibly hard for this update. So you should have a pretty good chance of getting yourself a free-to-play Titanic with this event, which is pretty cool. And then there's obviously, for the top 80,000 players, you get a free huge pet, which is going to be incredibly easy. Literally, if you just get like a couple million length throw, which is not too hard and really easy to get, you can easily secure yourself a free-to-play huge and maybe even a variant of that huge. So this leaderboard is pretty cool, but the rewards are a lot worse than last week, but that also doesn't mean you don't really have to worry about climbing the leaderboard too high. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the exclusive stuff they added. So obviously they refreshed the Forever Pack again. Now you can get some of the new items, which include 2 new upgrades. You can get the super basketball hoop upgrade. Honestly, I think the basketball hoop upgrades are not going to be really useful at all. And for how rare they are, they're definitely not going to be worth their price. But there's also a basketball orb frenzy upgrade, which increases the basketball orb spawn rate by 2 times, meaning you can grind orbs 2 times faster, which is going to be not only important for AFK grinding orbs, but for getting a super far throw. So this upgrade is going to be pretty important, and honestly, because there's already 5,000 that exist, I don't think they're going to be that expensive, which is really good. These are definitely going to be pretty useful. And then we have a new cosmic basketball egg where you can get a few of the stat pets, as well as 2 new huges and a Titanic. I'll talk about how the damage works in this update as well in a little bit, because it is slightly different than the last update. And with that being said, that is basically all they added in this update. But let's go ahead and talk about the tips and tricks I have for this update, including how you can AFK grind orbs, as well as the strategy to get the farthest possible throw that you might not know about. Before I move on to the rest of the video, I do want to quickly check my mailbox. If you want to donate to me using the mailbox, my username is loopedmuffin_RBX. I tend to only shout out anything over 5 million diamonds in wrap or any exclusive pets just to save time in the videos. Thank you very much, Duel Risky, for the rainbow huge mining monkey. Thank you very much. Thank you, KTV, for the huge lucky tiger. Thank you. Thank you, Max the Mighty, for the huge pixel otter. Thank you, Marv F2P, for the huge Easter lamb. Thank you, Red Eye Rabbit, for the anime wolf. Thank you, Malagos Blocks YouTube, for the bejeweled unicorn. Thank you, Dinglework, for the huge pixel bee, the diamond books, and a ton of electric bunny balls. Thank you, Tycoon, for the anime monkey, as well as the 5 million diamonds. Thank you, Lucas, for the diamond dog. Thank you, QOV, for the 100 million diamonds. Thank you so much. That is incredibly generous. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nolan, for the huge pixel bee. Thank you, Spider Heroes, for the huge rogue squid. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone else who sent me mail. All right, so let's go ahead and start by talking about the upgrades. So most upgrades are very useful in this event. However, the Yeet, Orbs Reach, and the Final Egg upgrades are going to be the least important to actually upgrade. I would max out literally all the other ones before maxing out the final egg and the orb reach, I would get final egg maybe to stage 3 or 4, but then focus on the other ones because that's going to help the most with distance. And because climbing the leaderboard past 2000 is not going to be important for rewards, and the top 30% or above actually still receive pretty good rewards for the leagues, getting super far throws for this event is not going to be nearly as important as last week because of the clan battle last week. So the stat pets in this egg are not going to be nearly as valuable, like not even remotely as valuable. So I really do not think wasting your upgrade tokens on the final egg early on is going to be useful. Now, in order to actually finish those upgrades, you're going to need to get a ton of orbs. I showed you how you can AFK the orbs during the last video that I made. However, there is a slightly better method. Once again, we're going to be using Tiny Task. Tiny Task will be linked in the description. And once you have it open on your screen, make sure you go into your settings and turn on continuous playback, and you know what your recording and playback hotkey are. Once you're ready to start AFKing, go to the second last area, move your camera like kind of up so that you can see all the orbs. And then you're not going to want to move your camera at all until you're done AFKing. Now, once you're ready, you're going to start recording on your Tiny Task using the recording hotkey. And then we're going to immediately teleport to area 8. Now, if you have the orb reach upgrade maxed out to 8%, then you don't need to do 3 passes. You can do 2 passes, but because I don't have it maxed out, we're going to go on the wide edge here. And I only use my hoverboard when I'm going in straight lines, not when I'm making turns. I'm going to go down the middle, then we're going to go down the side here. And then we're just going to immediately run all the way back to the other area and stop recording. And then all you literally have to do is click your playback hotkey and it'll repeat those actions over and over again, allowing you to AFK orbs for a while. Now, they added in one more thing that makes this a little more useful, which is going to be the basketball orb frenzy. So if you can get some of these while you're AFKing, that'll double the amount of orbs you're making and will definitely help you as well. But with a little bit of patience, you can easily get enough orbs to max out all the upgrades in like 10 to 20 hours of AFKing using that method. Moving on to boosts and enchants, just like the last event, there's basically no boosts or enchants that are going to be really useful during this event, except for ones that will help you hatch better pets and better variants of pets. So when it comes to enchants, the only ones that are going to be really useful are going to be lucky eggs, maybe a rainbow eggs in a super shiny hunter, or just a regular shiny hunter or a huge hunter. As well as when it comes to potions, the only things that are going to be useful are going to be cocktails specifically for the egg luck, as well as a lucky egg potion, depending on whatever tier you have. Those are literally the only base game boosts and enchants that are actually going to be useful during this event, because nothing actually helps you during the actual event when it comes to throwing. However, obviously there are these specific basketball boosts that can help you during the event. I would say basketball orb frenzy is the best. Then super springy shoes are really good. Super basketball hoop I don't think is that good, and the normal springy shoes are actually really good for their value. However, none of those are really essential unless you're trying to really get on leaderboard, or you're just trying to get a super far throw and get your league into the top 20%, which is also not even that hard considering it's 3 hours into the event and I'm still in a league by myself and I'm still almost top 10%. All right, now before I get into how you can make the farthest possible throw, you need to focus on increasing your strength. And the best way to do this is going to be with your pet team. Now, when it comes to your pets, it can be a bit confusing for this event. All of your strength is going to be coming from the stat pets over here. However, when you upgrade the egg, you're going to get rarer and rarer stat pets. The fragmented dominus is probably the second best, and then there's going to be one more that is going to be the best stat pet. However, unlike most events, using normal huge pets is not going to be better than using the stat pet itself. So for example, you can see I'm using a fragmented ball dominus. I have a base strength of 350. If I take this off and then use a regular huge pet, I have a base strength of 262, which is less than the stat pet itself. And then if I put on a rainbow version, it literally does the same amount of base strength. So the variant doesn't even affect it either. However, when it comes to basketball huge pet, they do actually kind of do some pretty good strength. You can see a ball dominus does a 350k base strength, but if I put on a huge electric bunny ball from the last update, it does a 332. So it's not as good as the stat pet, but it's pretty close. And then if I put on a huge fragmented dominus, it does the exact same strength. Now, if it's the same as last week, variants will not increase the damage for these huge pets either. So the best you can really do is get a full team of basketball huge pets or a full team of the same stat pet. That's going to be pretty hard because if you have like a rainbow shiny version, you're not going to have 15 of those. So definitely, if you don't have any exclusives, just use a ton of stat pets. But if you are going to be using exclusives, make sure you're using basketball huge pets. As you can see, also I have a huge atomic monkey ball, which you can get from the basketball rewards over here, and this does also do 350. So the ball huge pets from this part 2 of the event are going to be better than the ones from part 1, but any of the ball huge pets are going to be better than the non-basketball huge pets. So for me specifically, I'm going to be using probably a full team of fragmented Dominus balls or huge atomic monkey balls, depending on what's cheaper, and then a really good stat pet. But for now, this is what my team's going to look like. I'm just going to use a ton of bunny balls, every other huge pet I have, and then probably put in my other Dominus until I get some better stat pets and until the price of the fragmented Dominus balls drop. But honestly, they already are pretty low. That is literally the only thing that's going to significantly increase your strength. There is also a MVP boost that does give you a 10% strength boost, which is pretty good. And then there is also a friend boost that you can get from being in a server with friends. You get 5% boost per friend up to 30%, so it maxes out at 6 friends. And that is literally all you can really do to increase your strength besides orb strength, which I'll talk about in a second here. Okay, so moving on to the absolute best strategy to get the farthest throw possible. So when it comes to getting the farthest throw possible, I need to explain first how this actually works. So every round lasts 5 minutes here, and you know that the round is over when the intermission screen shows up and it says that the orb strength is reset. That means you have about 5 minutes to grind up a ton of orbs, get the strength from the orbs and build up a ton of strength, and then also get in a really good throw before the round ends. So when you go and try to go for a really far throw, you want to make sure you have a timer on the side of your screen. As soon as the intermission screen shows up, start the timer, and then at about 4 minutes to 4 minutes and 30 seconds, that's when I would go ahead and do your throw. But during the round, before the 4 minutes and 30 seconds is up, you are going to be spending the whole time grinding orbs and gaining as much orb strength as possible. Now, you definitely want to max out the orb strength upgrade. I don't have it maxed out yet, but I will. As well as you want to make sure you have the higher crit yeet and the higher trick shot yeet chance maxed out, because that is going to give you the best chance at getting a critical and trick shot at the same time, which is going to significantly increase the distance that you get. Now, before you go ahead and do it, you also want to make sure you find a server that is really close to the orb storm event, or go into a private server and farm orbs until you're at like 9,900, and then wait for the intermission screen to show up and then start the orb storm, because you really want to have an orb storm running during the round that you're going for a really far throw, because it gives you 5-time orb spawn rate, which gives you a ton more strength. Then you also want to make sure you have basketball orb frenzy boost on, because that is going to be incredibly OP for orbs and strength. As well as I would definitely make sure you have at least the normal springy shoes on, and if you really want to, get a super springy shoes and activate that as well. And then you also want to make sure you have your dunk meter full all the way, which means the next shot that you take will be a dunk. That is basically all you really need to do to get a super far throw. Wait for the round to start, then get an orb storm to trigger, farm orbs for about 4 minutes, and then as long as you have springy shoes on, most of these upgrades maxed out, as well as a dunk ready, you really want to hopefully get a dunk, trick shot, and critical shot in the same shot. That will give you an insanely far throw. With that being said, just like I said earlier, your strength is also heavily reliant on your team, so you really want to make sure you have some good stat pets and at least maybe some basketball exclusives if you want to get high up on leaderboard. But honestly, if you're just trying to get like top 2000, I definitely think you can probably do it with just a bunch of regular fragmented Dominus balls. So I'm going to go ahead and test the strategy out using my team, which is pretty OP right now, as well as the upgrades shown on screen. Like you can obviously tell, I do not have them all maxed out, so I'll probably be doing this in a couple days, maybe Thursday or Friday, once again to just secure my leaderboard position. But let's see how high we can actually make it on the leaderboard just from doing everything that I just told you. All right, I went ahead and grinded up almost 10,000 orbs here, and then I have a bunch of accounts in here for the 30% friend boost. I have my 2 boosts down here. I have a basketball orb frenzy already activated, and it looks like we're pretty much ready to go. I'm just going to wait for the intermission screen to show up, and then I'll start my timer, and we'll go for about 4 minutes grinding orbs, and then we'll give it 1 or 2 good throws, and hopefully we get something good. Also do have my dunk all the way filled up, so I think the next one should be a dunk as well. All right, let's give it our first throw here. Okay, we got a critical and obviously the dunk. Unfortunately, it was not a trick shot, but let's see how far that gets me. 38.4, not bad. If it was a trick shot, that would have been insane, but let's try again. Oh, we got a trick shot and a critical. Oh my gosh, if that was the dunk, this would be insane, but this is still going to be really good. 51.3 million. Now that is my new record, and if it was a dunk right there, that would have been easily probably over 60 million. Oh wow, I think that puts me at number 2 on the leaderboard when this resets. That is actually kind of insane. Number 2 on the leaderboard. Yeah, this method is absolutely wild. Let me go ahead and reset, and hopefully we get on number 2 here. Yep, as you can see, the server reset, and I am second on the global farthest throw leaderboard. That is, yeah, definitely the best strategy to actually do so. Like I said, once people start hatching the final stat pet, I'm probably gonna have to do it again later on in the week, but that'll probably secure you a leaderboard position as long as you have a couple of the huge pets and a decent stat pet. It's honestly not that hard, takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it for a free-to-play Titanic, or at the very least, you'll get like a free-to-play shiny variant of this huge. All right, so that is basically everything you need to know about this update, as well as all the tips and tricks for it, the best methods to use, and literally everything you need to know. So honestly, in my opinion, I think this update's pretty good. Just based on the fact that I already managed to get a golden version of this huge pet, I think farming this event for the huges, the Titanic, as well as the cosmic basketball gifts are probably going to be pretty profitable for the first few days of this update. So you might actually see a diamond making method video pretty soon, as long as they don't nerf this update to the ground like they tend to do almost every single update. But until then, if you enjoyed this video or found it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to once we reach 45,000 subscribers, I'll be hosting a massive 50+ rainbow huge pet giveaway on Pet799. But with that being said, I hope you all have an amazing day and good luck throwing. Congratulations to this user for being the first person to comment on my last Pet799 video with the Roblox username. You have won yourself a free rainbow huge pet. I do this giveaway every single video, so if you want a chance to win yourself a free rainbow huge pet, make sure to turn on post notifications to be notified when I upload. It's time to roll the winners of the giveaway for my last Pet799 video. Since this video did not reach any of its like goals, I will only be giving away 10 rainbow huge pets. As always, usernames of the winners will be shown on screen at the end of this time lapse. Congratulations to all of the winners.